Should Silent Hill get a remake? This was a question I asked a bit over a year ago, and I asked not only to the viewer but to myself as well. I stated that it doesn't need one, but it definitely deserves one. My mindset on gaming itself has changed dramatically over the course of 2019, especially with the Resident Evil 2 remake blowing my mind on how great it turned out. We also have rumors of Silent Hill games currently in development, so to celebrate the 21st anniversary of one of the most important franchises in gaming, we ask ourselves once again, should Silent Hill get a remake? Now the interesting thing is, compared to Resident Evil 1 and 2, which both got remakes, Silent Hill is a game that still holds up to this day. Resi 1 and 2 just feel dated, whereas you can tell that Silent Hill's way ahead of its time. I mean, most of the time at least.
Stop, don't shoot.
Yes, obviously the game is dated, I'm not that delusional, but I'm just trying to say that the first two Resi games aren't as great as they used to be, where Silent Hill may be. I'm gonna start off with reasons on why it should get a remake and end off on why it shouldn't. First of all, remaking Silent Hill could very well reboot the franchise. The Silent Hill franchise could definitely use a reboot, as it's currently beyond dead at this point. The last proper entry into the series was Silent Hill Downpour, released in 2012. Most hate it, I thought it was pretty decent. And there goes 80% of the viewer count. Regardless, the game as a whole received negative feedback, and we haven't seen any mainline entries since. I believe that remaking Silent Hill could do a whole franchise reboot, and I say this because if it happens, it wouldn't be the first time it's happened for a franchise. Crash Bandicoot, a series where most believe that it peaked during the late 90s, but they were greatly unaware of the huge reboot ahead of them. The Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which consisted of the first 3 games remade from the ground up, came out 9 years after Crash Mind Over Mutant, which was the last mainline entry until 2017. At this point, the series is currently bigger than it's ever been. Obviously a dramatically different game series to each other, but they do share similarities with both being PS1 classics. I don't think it's a stretch at all to say the same thing can't be done for Silent Hill. If it gets rebooted, maybe Konami will actually care for their arguably most important intellectual property, or maybe history will repeat itself and they'll proceed to publish games that make me want to headbutt a truck. But while a remake could reboot Silent Hill, I was pessimistic to the idea of it due to various factors. Wrong choice in developers, struggling to recapture what made the game shine in the first place, quality control issues, etc. But that was before Resident Evil 2. I believe that a remake has the potential to turn out amazingly well, possibly making the original obsolete. Now, the Resident Evil 2 remake blew up, not only because it's the new Resident Evil or it's a Resident Evil 2 remake, but because it was absolutely spectacular. It had been years since we've seen anything like this, and somehow Resi 2 managed to stay true to the classic survival horror Resident Evil formula, as well as being extremely innovative with new mechanics, changing the way some of the monsters act, having a story that focuses on character rather than events, Mr. X, and of course Mr. X. The game as a whole showed that a remake doesn't have to be like the original in all aspects, and can be innovative in its own way. And seeing such a dramatic change from its source material, I think that something similar can be done for Silent Hill. Or can it? Now, why shouldn't Silent Hill get a remake? Well, my main point stands from the last video. It could turn out worse than the state of my toilet right now. I'm assuming you're aware of how on the 20th of March 2012, an absolute butchering occurred on some of the best games ever made. In case you don't know, the Silent Hill HD collection was basically a bigger disappointment and a bigger disaster than dropping a whole family-sized lasagna into a bathtub. It just made everything worse from all ends. The problems start early in development, as for some reason, Hijinks Studios, which for some reason was chosen to remaster Silent Hill 2 and 3, used an archived version of the games. This instantly brought problems of inaccurate or missing textures, certain effects such as the fog density and screen noise not being present, quality control issues such as glitches, crashing, frame rate drops, fucking this. And probably the worst offense of them all, they changed the Silent Hill Ranch sign font to Comic Sans. Is public execution still a thing? Somehow both games as a whole looked and performed much better on a previous generation console. You get it now. SHHD collection was a disaster. And I believe this is relevant to the situation because I really don't want history to repeat itself in this way. We know how Konami doesn't show their beloved IP much respect by giving it to developers who are clearly not capable of capturing the Silent Hilliness of Silent Hill. Yeah, I just said Silent Hilliness. I'm trying to make the argument that if a remake happens, it would have to be done with care and be developed by the people who understand the Silent Hill franchise. I kinda don't trust Konami with choosing the right developers. Think about how bad the HD collection turned out. That was a remaster, a touch-up on an already existing product. A remake would have to be created from the ground up, thus creating a much higher demand for quality control, innovation, and keeping true to the original. If Silent Hill gets a remake, would Konami give it to the developers who would do this? Well, from past experiences, it's too hard to brush off. I don't know. And my other reason for Silent Hill not getting a remake can be summed up in a question. Does it really need one? Listen, there's a lot I'll do to see a remake of this game to the quality of the Resident Evil 2 remake happen. It was the second horror game I have ever played after all, and the first horror game I ever finished. A modern take on an absolute classic would be my dream come true. But I did say at the start of this video, Silent Hill has obviously aged, but still holds up extremely well. I can guarantee anyone visiting Silent Hill for the first time today will enjoy it and be scared by it. Let alone the PS1's jagged and distorted textures give a look that is completely unique to this game. The visuals add to the scariness factor, and so does the voice acting. I can clown on PS1 voice acting till no end, let alone the amazing one-liners in this game, my favorite being,
"Huh, radio. What's going on with that radio?"
But I don't think that the awkward pauses between dialogue and the ominous background music is really bad at all. It actually makes me feel a bit uneasy, whereas Resident Evil makes me laugh hysterically.
They're terrible demons. Ouch!
In conclusion, I think Silent Hill getting a remake has the potential to reboot the entire franchise as well as become one of the greatest horror games of all time, but it comes down to history may repeat itself and it could be a disaster like the HD collection. This is why I can be pessimistic to the idea of the remake. I think if it happens, it has a 50-50 chance on being great or a disaster. My standpoint is this: if it happens, I would be greatly excited as well as skeptical, but I can't be in the middle. I have to choose an answer. Should Silent Hill get a remake? Yes. I would definitely like to hear your opinions on the topic as well and why you think this game should get a remake or shouldn't. Happy 21st anniversary of Silent Hill, and send me money so I can egg the Konami officers.